Everybody everybody has their lunches. We're going to get started with our program. Okay, today is all about meet and greet, introductions. So I'm going to introduce myself a little bit here, which is out of context for me, but I have to.
You're doing a fantastic job, Jamie.
So I am Jamie Brown. I am a lifetime resident of the city of Battle Creek. Always have been, probably always will be. My early days of education started at Washington Elementary School. Yes, right here in MPC 2. I have a family of 4 children, 3 daughters and a son. The upper corner picture has 2 of my daughters and my son. The young lady in the pink sweater is my niece, which she was kind of my daughter before I had any children of my own. And then the young lady on the bottom, that's also my daughter who lives in Florida. I spent 39 years supporting the Department of Defense, the Defense Logistics Agency, through the Federal Center, Hard-Doe Inouye Federal Center. Great time, learned lots, happily retired 2019, which brought me to here, because had I not been retired, I probably wouldn't have been able to take this opportunity to work with this grant. There's a picture of me working for Calhoun County Landbank Authority. And finally, yes, most of my life has been in the Washington Heights neighborhood, from Goodale Street to Hamlin Street to Ann Avenue, all over to Second Missionary Baptist Church, New Level Sports Ministries, over North Kojic Church. I've been around, so yep, here I am, know a little bit. So if you have some questions, you can ask me, but otherwise, I think I'm a right fit for this opportunity.
Amen. Amen.
So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Krista.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Krista, and I also have to introduce myself, but just really quick, I want to say happy birthday to one of my favorite people in this room, Mr. Ron Sweet, who I have had the pleasure of working with all of my years at the Landbank, which now number 11. The only one who beats me on the Landbank team is Miss Linwood Gray, who got here a year before me. So, so by 1 year, Miss Linwood Gray beats me, and she also stole some of my comments about neighborhoods. So I was staring at the slide last night, trying to think how to introduce myself, which, you know, maybe like 2 years ago, pre-pandemic, I would have had like that down, but I just feel like all of us have been through so much in the last couple of years. And also this work that we're doing here is really important to me and to my team. We really want to get it right. And I think it's a really big opportunity, and we're very excited that the Kellogg Foundation is supporting us, and we're even more excited that all of these amazing people put themselves forward to help us do it. So I am actually from Fort Wayne, Indiana, not very far away. I grew up on the south side, and that is Michelle home right there. And a lot of my motivation in my life and the work that I do is all because of growing up in the Hannah Pettit neighborhood. I thought it was an amazing place to grow up. Some other people did not think it was the most amazing place to grow up, but all of the housing in that area was built for the factories on the south side of Fort Wayne, which shuttered in the mid-'80s and caused a lot of, movement from that neighborhood, which led to disinvestment, which led to changes, and my family ultimately moved when I was a senior in high school. My mom was very, very upset because she's a lifelong Southsider. We went to the same middle school as she did. We went to the same high school as she did. So she did what any good Southsider did. And she just moved farther south in the city. And so she was not giving up those roots. And that is a picture of her with my nephews and my daughter. who are like, if I'm with them, that is like, everything is right with the world, no matter what is going on, right? A good time will be had by all. In the middle is my husband and my daughter, who looks very old in that picture, so I almost didn't use it, because she's not that old, you know? I also have a fondness for cats. Pre-pandemic, we had 2, now we have 4. Not really sure how that happened, but my daughter talked us into 1, and then that 1 needed a friend, and yeah, it just was like a slippery slope. I also have a fondness for plants. Too many, probably. But the thing about me is that I'm really tied to family and neighborhoods and the work that I do. So in this particular picture, I used it because that plant is over 20 years old and once belonged to my grandfather and was in his house. It has moved a couple of states and multiple cities, and I had no idea plants could live so long, right? But when we were in the pandemic and we were working from home trying to figure out what we were doing at the land bank and how we were going to go forward, that plant was there, and now it's decorated with all the art my daughter has made during the pandemic, and some starts that I'm doing because my nephew wants me to grow plants for him so he can have his own houseplant collection. So, you know, I actually came to Battle Creek to work specifically at the land bank because I thought it was a really interesting tool to help neighborhoods like the one that I grew up in. I thought it had all of these different components that you could use, but it was also right when the foreclosure crisis was happening. So we were getting inundated with lots of properties that had really big challenges, that had really big safety concerns. So a lot of our funding had to go into addressing those safety concerns. And so what I'm really excited about with this project is that we're going to be doing some really street-by-street work with the properties that we own in the Washington Heights neighborhood. And we're going to be doing it as a community. It's not just like the land bank voice, it's the community voice. And that's really what I thought we were going to do with the land bank from the beginning, and now we actually have that time to do that. And so I'm very excited that we've got this opportunity to work with all of you. So what are we doing? It's probably a question you're all asking. And there's a lot. So we're going to cover part of it today. And then every time this wonderful group of folks meet at their advisory committee, we're going to get into it a little bit more. So we're going to do kind of high level. We've got some handouts. We've got Northside News Bulletin out there that our team has put together. And so we've got a couple of different communication points. But we got funded by the W.K. Kellogg Foundation originally with $500,000. And we realized pretty quick that we needed some support. And so then we were able to hire fabulous Jamie Brown to assist us. And then as we worked through and we talked with the residents, we realized we needed to kind of tweak our approach. When we wrote the grant, we thought one thing, it was also not a pandemic, which is important. But as we met with folks last year, you know, we kind of heard a couple of different things. One was just like a terminology gap, an information gap. And 2, we realized that our approach needed some tweaking. So, and then we realized as well that our inability to clean up some of the issues on our site, like clear title, was meaning that when we sold them, it wasn't really an asset to the person that we were selling it to, because we never had the type of funding to actually clear the title or clear the site. And that was something that was brought up to us. And we were like, okay, let's think about that. Let's talk to our funders and see if we can address that. So we were able to go back to the foundation, and we got some additional funding for Janie's position, and then we got some additional funding just recently to do some work on our properties, such as site clearance and title clearance, which we had not had before, and we actually have never had. And we got some additional support from the County Board of Commissioners to do that work as well, and that's really important too. When we wrote our grant, we wanted to do some very specific demolitions. Not a lot, we've already done enough. We don't want to do a ton. So that portion of the project is done, and that's why it has that green check mark there. We also wanted to activate some of our vacant land and do some beautification projects. And then we wanted to look at, you know, where might we add some infill? You know, where might that make sense to add some assets into the community? And how can we blend that with some skilled trades training? Because skilled trades is something that our community really needs. So how can we do it all together? And then we kind of had this aha moment as we were talking with folks. It's really great to do all of those things, but where are we doing it? And is it supported by the community? So we needed this land reuse strategy. And it's in orange because it wasn't part of our original grant application, but it just became so clear to us that we needed it. So last winter, Janie and Amy Rose Robinson, who's going to introduce herself in a second, and I need Angela's raising her hand too. Angela Whitesell is a long-time member of our team as well. So just thank her for being here today. And John Hart, I see, has snuck in the back, and he's a board member and City of Battle Creek employee as well. So anywho, we realized we needed that, and we needed to rethink how we were approaching this. Thank you. And then we also, after talking with folks last summer, we realized we needed to do some education, not just offer education for folks who are interested, but learn a little bit more about some of the stuff that we were hearing from residents in the neighborhood. So we have run 3 classes. One was the property information. How do you access that property information? How do you tell if a building has a fatal flaw or if it's something that can be fixed? And then just recently, Amy Rose and Rick Bullock from the City of Battle Creek hosted a permitting rehab relationships class. And those are all things that we can host again, and we've already gotten some interest in doing that again. But we have heard some other things that we want to research more deeply and talk with folks in the neighborhood, because we believe we've got some stuff to learn too. But it's going to take some time for us to do all of that, and we're really hoping the advisory committee is going to help us do some of that too. And then the property ownership piece. So we have a map over here that shows all the properties that we own. It's 246. We own a lot of vacant land just across all of Calhoun County. I think that's one thing I failed to mention, is that the land bank serves all of Calhoun County. So we work in Albion, sometimes we work in Homer Township, sometimes Sheridan. You know, we own a landfill in Sheridan because it came to the tax foreclosure process. We own old boundaries and factories, but we also own vacant residential land, which is most of what we own here in this community. And so each of those sites has a different opportunity for outcome. Some of them might make sense to sell to the neighbor as a side lot because they need a bigger yard, or their driveways on the property that we own, or there's a building encroachment. It might make sense to do some type of infill housing down the line, because one of the things residents in this community said to the City of Battle Creek is they would like more opportunity to own property, and they would like more choices in housing. So that's something that we've been listening to. And we know that the market is changing, that property values are changing. So what does that mean for folks in the neighborhood, and what does that mean for folks who wish to purchase property? So that's one of the things that we need to think through. So communication, I feel like this is the word that's flying around my head like all year. Like, how do we communicate with people? Are we communicating well? And when we're not communicating well, how can we get back on track? So here's what we've got going on. We're going to have monthly advisory committee meetings. They're on the sheet, the program for today. The first couple are going to be at the Pool Community Center, because we needed to set it up and we need to have tech support, because we want to make sure that we have to have our meetings in person because they're covered by the Open Meetings Act, but we want to have them on Facebook Live as well. So folks who can't come or aren't feeling comfortable, depending on the pandemic, can still participate. We've got website that's undergoing some changes right now, which Angela is working on to make it a little bit more user-friendly. And we've got social media posting on our Facebook page. We've got our Northside News Bulletin, because we wanted something to be able to hand out at the churches for folks who like to have that piece of paper to take home and read. And then we're open for any ideas for better communication. We've got Access Vision here today, and we're working with Richard Compton to help film our meetings and make sure that those are transparent and open for the community. And then this representation is critical. That's also in orange, because when we wrote our grant application, we hadn't been thinking about an advisory committee. But the more we met with folks, the more we realized that we don't want this to be just the land bank's voice, that it needs to be a community voice, and there needs to be that representation. So we talked with our funder, and we talked with our board of directors last fall, and we said, this is where we think we need to go. And that started this process of setting up this advisory committee. And I'm going to pause here, because y'all have heard me talk enough. And Amy Rose is going to come up and introduce herself. And she's really the lead on this project. But she's going to do some fun door prizes really quick too, just to get the blood going. And then we're going to hear from our advisory committee folks. Hi there, I'm Amy Rose Roberts. How are you, everybody? Fantastic. Does everybody have a raffle ticket? If you don't, come and see me. Everybody's got one? Fantastic. So I just want to introduce myself. I'm Amy Rose Robinson. I'm the Property and Project Coordinator for the Calhoun County Landbank Authority, and I was born in San Francisco. I moved to Lansing when I was 10, and we lived in subsidized housing, which was something like Prairie View is for Battle Creek. And then my husband, I married a man who was a country boy. You can take the boy out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the boy. And I live in the middle of 700 acres of cornfield, seriously, in Eaton County. My husband and my stepson and my grandson Owen are in the middle, and then all of our daughters, and then my two little kitties, my COVID kitties, Kona and Kai. My dad is from Kona, Hawaii, so I mean, it was fortunate, but Kona came with that name. So I was like, yeah, that's a keeper. She loves me, I love her, we're good. So without further ado, I am going to draw 6 tickets out of my little pot here, and I've got several prizes. So the first one is going to be for the butterfly. Okay, it's okay, I'm gonna put my glasses on. I'm getting old. It's 6888-393. 393 are the last 3 digits. No? No? Okay. I'm gonna go with another one. Okay. Here she comes. All right. Okay, ticket number 2. Mix it up.
Yeah, you don't get to keep that.
Okay. Ticket number 2, 6888-373. 373, last 3 digits. All right, then we're gonna do a little half flat of Johnny Jump Ups. Ticket number 6888-391, last 3 digits, 391. 391? Going, yay, fantastic. And then we have a cute little planter with some primrose, and it's a house, so appropriate for what we're doing. And that one is going to 6888-389. Last 3 digits, 389. All right. Second to the last one. Careful. All right, last 3 digits, 365. 365. Little bird. Ooh.
Way in the back.
Last one for this round, last 4 digits, 406. 406. Oh, yeah. All right, and I will be back. We have lots more prizes.
Hey, Rochelle. Hey. How are you, hon?
Okay, so what we asked the advisory to do, the advisory committee to do, is we've asked them to engage with the community, share and generate ideas, listen to concerns, history and perspective, provide input on decisions. We've already kind of discussed how we've gotten some input. Amy Rose and I are different heights, and I can't control this microphone. Make recommendations that we would then take back to our board of directors.